All right, fam, we keep telling y'all about these hate crimes, and the FBI has offered some details with regards to 2021. It is called the supplemental report, showing that hate crimes in the United States rose by 11.6% in 2021. Incidents rose from 7,262 in the first report to 10,840 in the revised version, up from 8,263. The data was released by the FBI in October and contained gaps because only 52% of U.S. law enforcement agencies reported a full 12 months of 2021 information. Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta issued the following statement: preventing, investigating, and prosecuting hate crimes are top priorities for the Justice Department, and reporting is key to each of those priorities. The FBI supplemental report demonstrates our unwavering commitment to work with our state and local partners to increase reporting and provide a more complete picture of hate crimes nationwide. We will not stop here. We are continuing to work with state and local law enforcement agencies across the country to increase the reporting of hate crime statistics to the FBI. Hate crimes and the devastation they cause communities have no place in this country. The Justice Department is committed to every tool and resource at our disposal to combat bias-motivated violence in all its forms. The FBI tracked the 96 cities across 16 states to identify statistically significant trends. Boy, I guess this just sort of blows out the water, Renita, all of these idiots who say, oh no, everything is great and wonderful. Hate crimes or issues of race, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely. And it's actually scarier than we all realize, because the way it works is that hate crimes are defined in law. But most states, Georgia, for example, and most states in the country, and I'm sure, I don't even know if the federal level actually does this, but most states do not actually define what is anti-Black racism. They don't define what is racism. And so for a hate crime to even be reported and be classified as a hate crime, there has to be something that was involved in the crime that shows that there was a bias against a specific community. So you have things take place all the time that we know, or communities know, that these are hate crimes, but because there was no obvious bias, it's not classified as a hate crime. For example, Emmett Till's murder, the murder of Emmett Till was never classified as a hate crime. Everyone knows that that was a hate crime. And so these numbers are actually low. And so things are actually scarier than what is even being reported.
Look, we continue to explain to people, Julian, that the reality of racism in America is still alive and well. We reported on the DOJ getting convictions. Last week it was a white man burning a cross in the yard of his neighbors, trying to intimidate them. We can go on and on and on. These things are still real in this country, no matter what white folks say.
Still real, but there's also a state of denial. There's so many white people in particular, but there are others. I mean, you will find some Black conservatives, oh no, are you sure that was a hate crime? Maybe it was just an altercation. The fact is that racism is alive and well, and anti-Blackness has basically increased at an exponential level in the last few years, after the Orange Man basically gave people permission to say and do things they would not have said and done before. The FBI report is useful, but will be even more useful would be if the Department of Justice would do a better job at investigating and shutting down some of these hate crimes. I'm really pleased. I think you had, well, I saw Kirsten Clark on somebody's air. I think we had her on, but somebody's air talking about Louisville and the 70 or 90 page document they delivered that talked about the bias and the problems with their police department. But that's the tip of the iceberg. These things are happening all over the country. And the fact is that while people deny anti-Blackness, they revel in the white supremacy that exists. So we've seen, I remember when they said there were Black domestic terrorists. Well, no one has been able to document that, but we do document, and we know that there are white domestic terrorists who basically get a pass most of the time.
Look, these things are still real here on Macongo, and it's important to report the stats, but it's also important for people to understand that hate exists. That the FBI has been clear. The greatest threat in this country continues to be white domestic terrorism.
And let's be honest with the fact that that came from the FBI headed by Christopher Wray, who was a Trump appointee. So for people to say this is just a Democratic, going back to our last segment, woke idea, absolutely not. And we have to understand that 65%, and this is where everybody who's like not part of Black America really needs to get on the bandwagon and understand this, because consistently Black people are number one, no matter how much the hate crimes increase. But when you look at the stats, 65% of the attacks were based on race, ethnicity, ancestry bias. So that could be Black, Jewish, Asian, and so on and so forth. But the other 35% of these crimes, Roland, were also related to things related to sexual orientation, related to physical ability, or what people call disability, gender bias, and the like. And we see what's happening with people within our trans community as members of the government of the Republican Party are actively working across the country to ban trans people in every way, shape, or form, or get rid of other things like drag queen races and parties and things like that. So it's beyond, even though we are the number one target and they keep coming for us first, people who have not been fighting actively to stop hate crimes need to understand that it's only a matter of time before they come for your group. Sales of guns within the Asian community started to rise exponentially throughout the COVID pandemic as Trump and his cronies were blaming them for the quote unquote Kung flu and other type of ignorant terms. Many who I listened to within that community said, we never thought it was going to happen to us. Nobody in this country should feel that they are going to get a pass or that they are going to be immune. Learn from what has happened to us, and let's continue to partner and work together to fight these groups and call them out and make sure that they get prosecuted. Because like Dr. King said, you can't legislate morality, but you can regulate behavior. We need to get them off the streets, incarcerated, in prison, out of their jobs, wherever they are, out there lurking, and come together and fight this, because nobody's safe.
Bottom line here, Renita, that the focus on attacks are going to be about race. Period. It's not. The reality is, it's going to be about race. That's where the attacks are going to be.
Well, and I mean, but to Amakongo's point, we are seeing increasing attacks for the trans community, for LGBTQ community. So like Amakongo said, we're all in this together. We are all, race are some of the oldest attacks. And of course, they are ongoing. And a lot of that is because of the refusal of the DOJ and other federal agencies to really take white domestic extremism, for the white domestic terrorism seriously in the way that they should. And the more that we allow this sort of cancer to just fester within our country, the more and more we see that hate crimes will just go unchecked.
Julian, the reason I say race is always going to be at the top, because it is always being here. Yes, you're seeing increases in other areas, but the bottom line is we are the default for America.
Absolutely. Obakongo was right when he points out that there are all kinds of hate crimes and they don't all have anything to do with Black people, but we are America's original sin. And we can go through history. We don't have to call the role of the recent killings of Black people by police. We can go all the way back to our history. We can look at economic violence and the lynchings that occurred. People have used our race to excuse their ways to oppress. I mean, I'm reading this historical stuff now. I don't know why, just to make myself crazy. But when you look at some of the stuff, the ways that Black people have been treated systematically, and the people who pick those attitudes up and continue to deal with them. So I don't really care that much about old racists. They gonna die. But when you get a 20-year-old, 30-year-old who's talking the same crap that their grandfathers are talking, that lets you know how persistent anti-Blackness is. And it's not just anti-Asian, anti-gay, it's anti-Blackness at the root, and the rest of it, if we're the root, the rest of it are branches on the tree. But they get away with oppressing other people because they get to oppress our people. And we could just, there's so many examples, Roland. You talk about white fear in your book, a great book, by the way. Talk about white fear, But it's more than fear. It's their paranoia. They're afraid that we will do to them what they did to us.
No, that's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. And so, we are seeing these things continue. Folks, remain vigilant and always protect yourself at all costs. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.